It's a Tuesday morning. The city is just waking up, bathed in the soft glow of sunrise, but you're already feeling the weight of the day ahead. You're scrolling through your phone, ignoring your alarm, trying to steal a few more moments of peace before reality sets in. That's when you see the headlines. U.S. home prices surge at fastest pace in 30 years. Inflation hits 40-year high. It's everywhere, impossible to escape. It feels like you're being squeezed from both sides. Your dreams and your wallet shrinking at the same time. The dream of owning a home is sprinting away, getting further out of reach, while your money seems to vanish right before your eyes. This isn't just a bad news day, it's the soundtrack to a generation's financial anxiety, echoing in every conversation and every coffee shop. The cost of everything, from houses to eggs, has gone off the rails. Even the basics feel like luxuries now. You get a raise, but prices rise even faster. Your paycheck grows on paper, but in reality, it buys less and less. You're technically richer, but actually poorer. The numbers go up, but your quality of life goes down. This isn't random. It's not just bad luck or a fluke of the market. It's the result of decisions made by a handful of people in Washington, D.C., people you'll never meet, but who shape your daily life. They turned on the money printer and left it running, flooding the economy with dollars. The result? A tidal wave of cash that made some people rich beyond imagination, while everyone else paid the price in silence. The headlines weren't separate events, they were two sides of the same coin, spinning out of control. The same force that made house prices explode also made your grocery bill terrifying. It's all connected, part of a bigger story. It was a massive transfer of wealth, disguised as a rescue mission. So grab a seat, because this story affects you more than you think. We need to talk about how the Federal Reserve stole 30% of your money, and what that really means for your future. What is inflation? It's a question that affects every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. Think of it as a silent pickpocket, quietly stealing value from your wallet every single day, without you even noticing. You don't see it happen, but suddenly your $100 buys half as much as it did just last year. Prices creep up, and your money's power slips away. The bills in your hand look the same, but what they can actually buy is shrinking. It's like your wallet is leaking value drop by drop. A little inflation is normal, about 2% a year. It's actually considered healthy for the economy, keeping things moving and encouraging spending. But what happened recently wasn't a little grease for the economic wheels. It was a flood, overwhelming everything in its path. When inflation jumps to 7, 8, or even 9%, it's a disaster for ordinary people trying to make ends meet. Your wages rarely keep up with these soaring prices, no matter how hard you work. A 3% raise during 8% inflation is actually a pay cut in disguise. You're falling behind, even if your paycheck looks bigger. You're forced to make tough choices, cutting back on groceries, canceling plans, or delaying important repairs just to get by. Inflation is invisible and easy to deny. You can't see it, but you feel its effects everywhere. Politicians blame corporations, wars, or supply chain issues, pointing fingers in every direction but their own. But the main culprit? The creation of staggering amounts of new money, flooding the economy. When the money supply explodes but the amount of stuff to buy stays the same, prices have nowhere to go but up. It's basic supply and demand. More dollars chasing the same goods means higher prices for everyone, and someone decided to crank up the money supply to levels never seen before. That single decision changed everything for millions. The result? Your money lost value and you had no say in it. It happened quietly, but the impact is loud in your daily life. That's inflation, the silent theft you can't escape no matter how careful you are. Who turned on the money taps? It's a question that echoes every time the economy faces a crisis, and suddenly, there's a flood of cash. Meet the Federal Reserve, the high priest of the American economy, quietly pulling the levers behind the scenes. From March 2021. Early 2022, the Fed created about $4.5 trillion out of thin air, an almost unimaginable sum, conjured up with a few keystrokes. That's enough to give every American $10,000, a staggering thought when you consider the scale. How did they do it? Through quantitative easing, or QE, a boring name for a tool with enormous power to shape the economy. The Fed buys government bonds and mortgage-backed securities from big banks, paying with money it just created. Money that didn't exist before. It's like having a friend who can write infinite checks no matter what's in their account. The goal? Lower interest rates and flood the system with cash, hoping banks will lend more, businesses will invest, and consumers will spend. But the Fed isn't handing out cash to everyone. It's swapping assets with banks, expanding its own balance sheet, and changing the financial landscape. The Fed's holdings doubled in 2 years, from $4 trillion to nearly $9 trillion, a historic leap in such a short time. This was the biggest, fastest expansion of the money supply in US history, rewriting the record books. The consequences? No one, not even the Fed, could fully control them. The effects rippled out in unexpected ways. The financial system was awash in cash, but not everyone benefited equally. Some prospered, while others were left behind. The ripple effects would reshape the economy and your future, touching everything from home prices to job markets. QE was supposed to save the economy, but it changed the rules of the game, creating winners and losers in ways no one fully predicted. And most people never saw it coming. The changes were invisible, but their impact was everywhere. The money printer changed everything, but not for everyone. The story of QE is still being written, and its effects are far from over. $4.5 trillion. Did you see any of it? Of course not. That river of cash flowed straight to the biggest financial institutions. Wall Street was suddenly swimming in digital dollars while Main Street got crumbs. Banks used the money to buy stocks, bonds, and real estate, not to help ordinary people. The stock market soared, not because the economy was stronger, but because there was more money chasing the same assets. Stimulus checks to individuals were a drop in the ocean compared to what Wall Street received. For every dollar to regular Americans, 5 went to the financial sector. It was a stimulus package for Wall Street, with a tiny rebate for everyone else. The wealth gap widened, and most people were left behind. The system was rigged to benefit those at the top. Let's make this real. Meet Sarah, a 30-year-old graphic designer. In early 2020, she had $40,000 saved for a down payment. Houses were $300,000. The dream was within reach. Then the pandemic hit, and the Fed turned on the money printer. By 2022, that same house cost $420,000, a 40% jump. Her savings now barely covered a down payment. For every dollar she saved, the price rose by 3. Worse, she was competing with investment firms flush with cheap cash, buying homes with all-cash offers. Regular buyers like Sarah couldn't compete. Rents rose, savings lost value, and the dream of homeownership slipped away. She did everything right, but the rules changed mid-game. The system was flooded with money, pushing the one asset she needed out of reach. Sarah's story is the story of millions. The American dream was replaced by anxiety and frustration. The finish line moved, and no one told her why. The money printer didn't just inflate prices, it deflated hope. For many, the dream is now a mirage. The new reality: work harder, get less. And the gap keeps growing. The inflation story had 2 sides. Did you own assets or not? If you owned a home or stocks, the last few years were a windfall. Your house made more money sitting still than you did working. A $300,000 house became $420,000, $120,000 in equity for doing nothing. Retirement accounts soared. Asset owners got richer on paper. But if you were a renter, or your savings were in cash, you got none of the gain, all the pain. Rents, food, gas, all up. Wages lagged far behind. The wealthy benefited. The poor and young paid the price. The top 10% own nearly 90% of stocks. The bottom 50% own almost none. Inflation transferred wealth from workers to asset owners. The system rewarded those who already had, and punished those trying to get ahead. It was a rigged game, and most people lost. Officials talk about the official inflation rate, CPI. 9% sounds bad, but it felt worse. The CPI is a national average, mixing hundreds of items. It doesn't reflect your real life. Essentials like eggs, gas, and rent rose much more than the average. Eggs up 30%, gas up 60%, rents up double digits. These are the costs that matter. The CPI smooths out these spikes, giving a false sense of security. Then there's shrinkflation, same price, less product, more air in your chips, less ice cream in the carton. You pay the same, but get less. It's hidden inflation. The biggest lie? Housing costs. The CPI uses a slow-moving estimate, missing the real 40% jump in home prices. While homes became unaffordable, the official number said "antati, not so bad." It was statistical sleight of hand, hiding the true pain. The numbers didn't lie, but they didn't tell the whole truth. For most, the reality was far worse than the statistics. The real cost of living crisis was hidden in plain sight. Is the system rigged for the rich? Absolutely. The Fed claims it had to act to prevent economic collapse in 2020, but this playbook isn't new. In 2008, they bailed out banks the same way. Each time, asset prices soared and inequality grew. The system protects asset owners and financial institutions first. Wall Street gets trillions instantly. Main Street gets scraps, after months of debate. The people making these decisions are from the same elite world they're supposed to regulate. To them, a healthy stock market means a healthy economy. They believe wealth will trickle down, but it doesn't. It stays at the top. The gap between the haves and have-nots keeps widening. The system is designed to keep it that way. The legacy of this monetary experiment, a permanent shift for a generation. The old path, work, save, buy a home, is broken. How do you save for a house when prices outpace your income and inflation erodes your savings? The result, a permanent renter class. Corporations buy homes to rent, turning ownership into a subscription. You pay monthly, build no equity, and watch your wealth go to shareholders. The inflation theft wasn't just higher prices, it was a transfer of future wealth. The $4.5 trillion printed by the Fed ended up in assets, not your pocket. If you didn't own assets, you paid the price in higher costs and lost dreams. Your money is worth less, your future feels out of reach. The theft was invisible, but you feel it every time you pay rent or buy groceries.